We should talk a little bit about the Democratic National Convention. We've been watching it over the past 2 nights, and I want to blow my brains out. But before we get into there, I just think I want to talk about something that I think is indicative of the overall direction of the Democratic this convention that's going on right now, and the party and this election. And I'm talking, of course, about just this morning, Nancy Pelosi endorsed J.K. the Third against Ed Markey, which seems to go against like the DCCC as far as the House of Representatives goes. It was her official rules that said that you can't endorse a fucking primary challenger against an incumbent. But because this is the Senate, it's, I guess she can go cut against that. And it's like there's this whole weird thing about they're backing J.K. the Third because they want one of their guys from the House of Representatives to knock off someone who's long sitting in the Senate. It's all this big like dick measuring between the House and the Senate. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's just like this is the direction of the party, which is you get nothing. You get nothing. They're like we will offer you nothing. Fuck you. Die. That is the message here. With and she said that she's endorsing J.K. the Third because she was disturbed by Ed Markey's attacks on the Kennedy legacy.
And specifically, there's a line, and it was a great line at the end of the last Markey ad, where he says, with all due respect, it's time to start asking what your country can do for you, which is a great line at a time when people feel completely abandoned by their fucking country and just asked to sacrifice towards no end without any implicit guarantee that it's going to mean anything. And that is the thing that apparently rung Nancy's bell and made her realize this has to be suppressed. We cannot get the proles in their head the idea that there is anything to be asked of us.
Yes.
That all there is to do is to suffer and to deal with it. And we're here to help you.
Well,
we're here to hold your hand along the way.
It also speaks to her age, too, where she's like, we must preserve the Kennedy legacy.
Well, yeah. I mean, these boomers have a lot to do with that.
Nobody gives a fucking shit about Camelot.
Yeah. And it's already preserved at the CIA headquarters in the cryogenic.
All they do is eat hot chip and die. Like, no one gives a shit about the fucking Kennedys anymore.
Well, I mean, people over Matt, 60 do, for sure. Matt, but that's all the people they talk to ever.
Yeah.
Matt, to your point, and we can get into the last couple nights of the DNC that we've been watching, and you just, I don't know what your guys' highlights were from that. But it's not just that, like, it's just like you can ask for nothing. That like it's they are managing people's perceptions in such a way that like that the idea that you would hold out or expect anything in return from them is the exact opposite of that is the message that they're going for. And it's not only that like we have nothing to offer you, don't ask, you get nothing. It's also that it's all on you. It is all your responsibility to fix all these problems by voting. And it's just COVID, racism, Trump, like all like inequality, the global warming, all these problems that like these intractable fucking metastasizing problems that our country is fucking suffering from. It's all on you. It's your responsibility to do something about it. Don't ask us. Or just the only thing you can do is vote for us, and we will not even fucking offer you even the slightest indication of like policy or anything in return whatsoever. Like this is the unmistakable message from watching 2 nights of this fucking horrific spectacle of the DNC.
You have to vote. It's your responsibility to vote for us. We're not promised anything certainly. But if you want anything bad to end, you have to vote for us. And if the bad thing keeps happening, it's because you didn't vote hard enough, I'm afraid. I'm sorry.
Did you notice some of the language they used in the sloganeering? Because it was all platitudes. This one wasn't really like, because of like the weird structure of the Zoom everything. It was like very like, I don't know. It was very weird. It was a series of like PowerPoint presentations and like commercials for, Facebook or whatever. But did you notice that a lot of the language they used, I thought like this is the sort of thing that Republicans would have said in the 90s. They kept using the word opportunity. America will give you opportunity. We're not going to give you a thing, but we're going to give you the opportunity to, we'll set you up and then you can do something.
Contestants on Family Double Dare have an opportunity to win an all expenses paid vacation to Hawaii.
Yeah.
This is a point Chris made when we were streaming this last night, is that like in all the big primetime speeches too, when they address like I said, these intractable, awful problems that continue to plague American society, it's always about the opportunity to fight for changing these problems. It's never like achieving anything. It's never like we're going to stop this.
It's certainly never like here's a thing we will give you.
And like the perfect example of this was the Obama speech last night, which I mean we can get into that. Like the kayfabe about like, was there ever any chance that anyone was going to watch this and be like, well, that was fucking underwhelming. I guess he really phoned that in. No, immediately just pre-written. Like we said, it's like the SNL sketch about Gerald Ford dead today. It's just
an overdose of crack cocaine.
Like, these pre-packaged, pre-written things that it was the most stirring, amazing moment in our political history ever. But the one thing I gleaned from that is he talked about how like, our grandparents or like previous generations who fought for civil rights or who fought in the Civil War or, who came to this country as immigrants and like struggled to get their piece of the American dream. He was like, they still bought into the system. Like they still voted or like, so like they had an excuse to complain, like, whereas you have none. Like you have no reason to fucking be mad at the government or American society. So like if they didn't check out, like, you have to fucking vote and, get everyone excited about the Biden-Harris ticket. And then the other big thing I took away, or at least reading the reactions to Obama's speech from these fucking brain dead liberals, is they were all just like, I've never seen Obama scared before. And it was so chilling. It was so chilling and shocking to just see the fear in his eyes and voice about the stakes in this election. It's like finding out that your dad is like, lost his job or something.
What's he afraid of? He's got a moon base to go on.
Yeah.
He's got a fucking orphan ribcage mansion to live on underneath the earth.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hear Martha's Vineyard is suffering from a really bad Japanese beetle infestation right now, and they destroy the rose bushes immediately.
Can't stop thinking about it.
Just the mirror image of the QAnon people who watch Obama and say, I saw his eyes flash red and I saw a demon.
Yeah. But yeah, just sucking him off. And like, we watched that speech and it's just like living in a different universe. Cause it seemed to me like, it was poorly delivered, phoned in, and it's just transparently that he does not give a fuck about any of the people watching it crying, fucking being like, I love you, Obama. Like, could not give less of a shit. But here's the other thing we were talking about watching this shit. It's a point you brought up, Matt, is that like whenever you complain about it or like just be like, oh, God, this DNC, it couldn't get any worse. It can't possibly get any worse than this shit, is that you're just reminded over and over again by these smug assholes that like, oh, like this is not for you. You're not if you're a Democratic voter or even like a progressive, a liberal, or even just committed to the Democratic Party, this whole convention and everything you're seeing is not for you. You're not the intended audience and you can't look at it that way. So that when these people praise it or talk about how successful or stirring and inspiring it is, what they're doing is that they're imagining a totally made up person in their head who's impressed by this shit.
Yeah.
And like,
so
Matt,
it's
like you said, it's like we don't
from any reality. It's a fantasy of someone else.
Yeah.
It's your own feelings transmitted into a projected fake persona.
It was an investor presentation. It was meant for a small group of super donors and then the fucking like absolute deluded cucks that believe that there's some sort of popular investment in this farce of a spectacle of an event.
Or even more explicitly, it's for Republican voters. It's all about giving Republican voters permission to vote for the Democrats because Trump is so indecent or so like such a break from norms of American tradition. And it's like, that's why they're wheeling out a fucking the John McCain package about what good friends he was with Biden and fucking Colin Powell, getting Colin Powell out there. It's like we said, like if you're telling me Trump is the most evil guy in American history, what the fuck does that make Colin Powell? And what does it say to you about
goddamn American hero? Thank you, sir.
But what does it say about like the ticket that you're running that Colin Powell feels okay fucking endorsing it? Not only that he feels okay to endorse this ticket publicly, but that they feel fucking proud to bring him out there and fucking be like proud of the fact that he supports them.
I'm still just
By the way,
baffled that even after fucking 2016, they're like, all right, we really got to get the moderate Republicans.
Yep.
What's the only ones they can get? Because
And it might-
to
and it
do
might
anything
work
else
this
would
time, too.
require breaking that compact of not talking about any significant change.
Exactly.
I don't
Like,
They would have to do that to do anything other than appeal to Republicans. So they just have to double and triple down.
I don't think they will, and I think the Republicans are pretty much on board with fucking Trump now.
No, it doesn't work. But
Yeah.
it doesn't have to work. They still hold control of the party. It doesn't matter if they win or lose.
yeah, because they know that if you're not a committed Republican voter, you have nowhere to fucking go.
Yeah.
And the only option you're going to have is, like I said, to vote for the Republican Party of 1996. Were it not beholden to socially conservative voters. That's John Negroponte endorsed Biden this morning. John Negroponte, a guy who was personally in charge of fucking death squads that disappeared like labor union members and leftists in Central America in the 80s. Like a fucking Elliot Abrams level fucking genocidal war criminal. Happy to have him on board. Come on in. At least he's not Donald Trump. And it's just like the other perfect example from last night was Elizabeth Warren's speech. And the thing everyone is fucking just creaming themselves over this morning is that she spelled out BLM in children's toy blocks in a kindergarten
Wow.
classroom behind her.
Goo goo
It's like it
gaga.
could not be more transparent that they're just saying, you are babies. All this shit that you care about is like just saying, I want my baba, and
I
we'll give you.
I poop beep,
We're
I
gonna give you the Black Lives Matter toys, like a pacifier to shut you up, because it couldn't be further removed from the things that we care about. It's just you are babies,
Well-
and the way they're reacting to it are like babies who've been given a toy.
Well, even the presentation of it, like Patrick Sandberg said this. He's like, I was watching it and I realized this is Sesame Street. Like the way it's edited, it's like it's like Sesame Street. You'll learn about the letter B, and then you'll sing a song about the moon, and then you'll watch a Muppet do a thing. It's like these very short vignettes of like activity, close-ups on faces because babies like faces, bright colors, and then on to the next thing. It's nothing particularly substantive. They're little. It's modeled after children's television programming from the Children's Television Workshop, brought to you by PBS and viewers like you. Like it is exactly that model. It is made, and that's why Sesame Street is brilliant, because that kind of programming is the only thing that sticks in a 3-year-old's or 2-year-old's head, and now that's what we are.
At least Sesame Street was like sort of the wholesome and nourishing. Or
No,
like
Sesame Street is
socially for
great
children.
because it's for 2 and 3-year-olds.
I like the contrast we're going to get this in the next 2 weeks. This week it's Sesame Street. Next week Scorpio Rising.
I said it's going to be. I said it's going to be
Psycho
Sesame Street Kenneth Anger. It's
Yeah.
going to be
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah.
Kenneth Anger does a Super Bowl halftime show. It's going to be awesome.
It's just guys in leather jackets and sailors on stage.
Yeah.
It's gonna be great. With a giant pyramid behind them.
Yeah.
Just like colors shooting at you. Oh, it's gonna be fucking great. I mean, the other thing that I took away from last night, like if I'm going to project, as I'm counseled to by our wise political observers in the media, to, this isn't for me. You have to imagine like, an undecided voter or someone in real America who's, they don't want to be too scared off by things like policy or, what I'm going to do in office. If I was that imaginary person, like for instance, listening to that shit last night, or like Kamala's big speech or whatever, they did not say almost anything about like what we're going to do or like fix in terms of like this fucking pandemic. Or they just said we're gonna end the pandemic. Okay, great. I hope so. But like instead what we got was just this like fucking this fucking roll call of just biography. I mean, Kamala was up there just talking about fucking her grandparents and her aunts and the way she was raised and the way Joe was raised. And I'm just like, dude, everyone is getting evicted. Nobody has a job. Everyone's fucking grandparents are dying of this fucking plague. And it's just like, why? I don't give a shit about your childhood or like what a good person you are or your family narrative or anything. Just give, there's nothing there. And like, I guess what we're being told is like that imaginary American person, like that's what they care about. They just want to know that they like you. Or like you said, Matt, they want the good person on TV. They want their friends to be on television and then have some buy-in to this. Yeah, like
They want to know that
parasocial
she had a
relationship.
family and wasn't, hatched from an egg. That she was produced as mammals are from a womb.
Yeah, there's a little
that
bit of
she's
too
live
much.
birth.
There's a little bit too much protesting there. It's like, like other humans born in the United States, I of course enjoyed food and recreation as a child. Just like it certainly wasn't poured out. Certainly did not emerge from a pupa, from a throbbing egg sac underneath the Pentagon. That definitely. My first years weren't just like in a giant terrarium eating hobos they threw in with me. That didn't happen at all. I was enjoying baseball.